This is Remembrance Sunday. As you see me standing here with ribbons and medals on my chest, don't just see this vessel of World War II, but look beyond. I represent all the veterans of past wars whose numbers are diminishing rapidly each year. There are so many heartbreaking stories and memories of terrible years of World Wars I and II. We must continue to remember the tens upon tens of thousands who went to war never to return, their broken bodies buried in foreign lands. Our symbol of remembrance is the poppy. Let the veterans know that you care for what they and their dead comrades went through to secure your freedom. Wear a poppy. As we remember those who gave their lives in the cause of freedom, in our minutes of silence, let us also include the families whose own lives have been shattered at the loss of sons, husbands, brothers and sweethearts, especially the mothers. In a moment I will read a mother's poem that is relevant on a Remembrance Sunday. I can well relate to a mother's anguish in times of war. My own mother for 7 long years, from 1939 to 1946, with one son in the British Army and me on a warship in the Royal Navy, fighting the enemy in the English Channel, the Mediterranean, the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, also part of the massive armada of warships pounding the Normandy beaches with shellfire during the D-Day invasion. My mother never really knew where I was or what dangers were being faced, but worrying nevertheless. She, watching every day the postman on his bicycle, would this be the day that he stopped and delivered the dreaded telegram? My mum knew that I served on HMS Scotland, a Royal Navy destroyer. A little bit of trivia. In the British Royal Navy, every warship was given a name, but it was prefixed by HMS, which meant His Majesty's ship. Now it's Her Majesty's ship. So the HMS Brooklyn. My mum knew that I served on HMS Scotland, a Royal Navy destroyer. In those dark days, every success or battle won was a boost to the people of Britain to carry on the struggle to survive. So the media made the most of every fighting force's achievement. The glaring headlines in the morning newspaper stating proudly, 2 of our destroyers, HMS Scotland and HMS Albrighton, in the early hours of darkness, attacked an enemy convoy off the coast of France and sank or severely damaged 10 enemy ships. Our destroyers returned safely, but suffered damage and casualties. Knowing that my mum would see this, and to ease her anguish and concern, I quickly sent off a telegram, safe and well, but not to my house, but to the house next door neighbour who had no family member in the armed forces and wouldn't panic at the postman's delivery. I have that actual telegram that I sent to my mum after the naval battle on April the 29th, 1943, 73 years ago. Safe and well, love, Horace. Mum saved it with all the letters we had mailed from parts overseas. After those long years of war, my brother and I returned to a loving mother's arms. Many, many others were not so fortunate. To all those mothers that suffered in silence on the home front, let me read to you a mother's story. Why wear a poppy? Please wear a poppy, the lady said, and held one forth, but I shook my head. Then I stopped and watched as she offered them there. Her face was old and lined with care, but beneath the scars the years had made, there remained a smile that refused to fade. A boy came whistling down the street, bouncing along on carefree feet. His smile was full of joy and fun. "Lady," said he, "may I have one?" When she pinned it on, he turned to say, "Why do you wear a poppy today?" The lady smiled in her wistful way and answered, "This is Remembrance Day, and the poppy there is a symbol for the gallant men who died in war. And because they did, you and I are free. That's why we wear a poppy today." I had a boy about your size with golden hair and big blue eyes. He loved to play and jump and shout. Free as a bird, he would race about. As the years went by, he learned and grew and became a man, as you will too. He was fine and strong with a boyish smile, but he lived with us just a little while. When the war broke out and he went away, I still remember his face that day when he smiled at me and said, "Goodbye. I'll be back soon, Mum. Please don't cry." But the war went on and he had to stay, and all I could do is wait and pray. His letters told of his terrible fight. I can see it in my dreams at night, with tanks and guns and cruel barbed wire and mines and bullets, bombs and fire. Till, at last, the war was won. And that's why we wear a poppy, son. The boy turned as if to go, then he said, "Thanks, lady. I'm glad to know. That sure sounds like an awful fight. But your son, did he come back all right?" A tear rolled down each faded cheek. She shook her head, but couldn't speak. I slunk away in a sort of shame, and if you'd been me, you'd have done the same. For thanks in giving is oft delayed, though our freedom was bought and thousands paid. And so when we see a poppy worn, let us reflect on the burden borne by those who gave their very all when asked to answer their country's call, that we at home at peace might live. Then wear a poppy. Remember,